These 5 activities on Instagram are sure to get you banned. Wondering if you've been shadow banned on Instagram? Well, if you've engaged in any of these 5 major red flag activities, there's a very good chance that you have in fact been shadow banned. Maybe you have no idea what a shadow ban is, but it does seem as though Instagram is limiting the reach of your content. This episode of Build Your Tribe is for you. Okay, before I get into these 5 activities that are destined to, if not get you shadow banned, they're going to damage your personal reputation. And in the long run, they're detrimental to your personal brand. And they're definitely not helpful if you're trying to grow your reach on Instagram. But first, let me answer the question, what is a shadow ban? Many people believe that they've been shadow banned because their content just stops getting the same number of likes, the same number of comments. You stop getting the same kind of traction that you once were. And people often believe that they've been shadow banned. 90% of the time, our studies have shown, and by the way, my son and I, Brock, the co-host of Build Your Tribe, we host a very large Instagram growth community. So we're constantly not just teaching, but we're polling our members. We're getting feedback from them, real data. We actually have a PhD who works on our staff. All they do is look at data and numbers and analyze this stuff. So this isn't based on like our, personal opinion. Like this is based on true data and research. And what we found is 90% of the time people have not been shadow banned. What's going on is their content just isn't performing as well because of all the reasons we've talked about in previous episodes, including the fact that there's far more supply than there is demand, which means in order for your content to get the same kind of traction maybe it once did, it really needs to be freaking amazing. Like most of us don't want to consume more social media, especially on Instagram. We want to consume less. So we become very picky, right? There's probably very few accounts you look at every single day. There's probably very few people or accounts whose stories you make a point of going to watch every day. And because of that, it's far more competitive. So it's not likely you've been shadow banned, but in case you're just certain that your content is fantastic, and that's not the problem, you think that you've been shadow banned, I want to go over the 5 major activities that are destined to limit your reach, if not get you shadow banned. So the first and most common is buying followers and or likes. This is a common practice. If you've done this many, many years ago, there's nothing really you can do about it. In fact, there's really nothing you can do about it if you've done it recently, other than don't do it again. It's just the dumbest idea, especially if you were persuaded by someone who's like, these are real followers. They're in your niche. And for X amount of dollars, we're going to get you real followers who've been looking for this type of content. Or for X amount of dollars, we're going to get you X amount of likes per day they would say from real accounts. Well, they might be real accounts. How are we defining real accounts? How are we defining real followers? That's a great question. These guys are scammers. These are often either stolen or bot created accounts. They are not, I promise you, they are not real people who are really interested in your content. That's not happening. So what happens is when you buy these followers, is there an advantage to it? Yeah, there is a little bit of an advantage if your goal is to manipulate and trick and deceive people. Can you tell? Like this is my pet peeve. And I'm saying this because I have friends I shouldn't say friends, I have acquaintances in many different industries who I know because they've told me they've bought followers. And people think that they've got more credibility, more expertise, more validity to their message because they have so many followers. But it's a lie. It's deceptive. It's, in my opinion, it's fraudulent, especially if you are working with other brands and perhaps you're working with brands and getting deals because the number of followers you have or the type of engagement that you get. But if it's all fake, how is that any different from faking the paperwork to get a mortgage on your home? How is that any different from lying about your credentials to get into college? How is that any different from lying in general? It's lying. And that's your reputation. Let me know if you would like for me to do an episode to teach you exactly how to spot these fakes and phonies. And I think this is probably important, not just because like you want to know, but some of you might be very interested in paying other creators for their user generated content, offering sponsorship or influencer deals or even micro influencer deals. And you're doing that based on how many followers and likes a certain account might have. But when you know it's bogus, do you really want to do business with someone who's a liar, who's into deception? I'm not about it. I also want to say, I don't want to make you feel like horrible if you're like, I did it and I'm not alive. That's not who I am. I understand because I have some close friends who have bought followers and they're like, I so regret ever doing this. If you've done it and now you know better, then you just have to do better. But I do think it's really important if a brand comes to you and they want to do a partnership based on your followers, you are probably going to do better in your relationship if you just tell them that a certain amount of your followers and or likes in the past have been bought. Now, I will say this. Any account over about 100,000 followers will automatically have between 15 to 25% of their followers are bot followers that you did not buy. So if you take a look at the bigger accounts, the bots will often follow in large quantities any account that already has a significant following because they're trying to get the attention of your existing followers and or there's a whole number of different scams that they run. So sometimes people do have fake followers, but if it's anything beyond like 20% fake followers, and by the way, there are sites where you can check people's how authentic their followership is. But again, almost any account over 100,000, including my own, is going to have a certain degree of fake followers. And I didn't buy them, but they're still there. And those are from bots. But when you see an account that's like 35, 45, 50%, 80, 90% fake followers, that's just criminal in my opinion. Like that means you bought a ton of followers. So do not do that. Instagram's mechanism for identifying these things is so acute. It is so precise that it will, and you won't get a notification. Your reach will stop. So you're not going to get any more new followers. You're going to have those existing followers. If you get new followers, it's going to be pretty accidental. And you're going to see that it's going to diminish your likes. So when you stop paying for likes, when you stop paying for followers, you're like dead in the water for a considerable amount of time. Second biggest mistake that you can make on Instagram that's certain to get you shadow banned is buying engagement or engaging in engagement pods. So what is an engagement pod? Engagement pods are when a group of people, oftentimes people who are also buying their followers, form a group. You'll get a DM. Someone will invite you to this engagement pod. You pay a certain amount of money. And then anytime anyone in this particular group makes a post, and sometimes they're limited to 100 or 50 or 25 or 200 or 500, you don't know because the person who organizes these things is usually not very trustworthy. So you pay a certain amount of money, and everybody who's in this pod, every time you make a post, they're all notified and they all leave comments on your latest Instagram post. It would seem like a great idea. I remember when people first came up with this idea and it seemed like it was a great idea. I remember I had like a group of 10 friends. I'm like, hey, we should all let each other know when we post so we can like, be right away to comment. This is like 10 years ago. Well, now these things have evolved and like I said, when you know better, you do better. Engagement pods are no more credible than buying likes and buying followers. You're paying for people to inauthentically engage with your content. They haven't engaged with it because they're excited about it. They've engaged with it because they've paid and they want you to do the same for theirs. And this really drives me crazy. It's easy to spot. It's so easy to spot because when someone's in an engagement pod, right away, the second they post, there's like all these comments and they're super dumb. They're like, beautiful girl, looking great again. Fire. Wow, slay lady. They're like so lame. And they're usually from other blue checks. If you go click on those other people, those other blue checks, 90% of the time they're not even following this person, yet they comment on every single post. That's a dead giveaway. And then that person is always commenting on their post. And here's the dumbest thing about these engagement pods. Those people are never going to be your customers. So it's a waste of time. It hurts your credibility. It makes you look like a fraudster. And while the average person can't spot it, anyone who's in business who understands social media and knows that this is happening, they're not going to say anything to you, but we all know you're doing it. And it's kind of embarrassing. It's lame. I think it's deceptive. I think it's fraudulent. All you're doing is paying to hurt your reputation and paying to hurt your engagement in the long run. And yeah, it might make you look fancy and give you some clout with some people who don't know better, but in the long run, it's a dumb idea. It's a bad idea. Third, and most likely to get you shadow banned, is regularly using hashtags that you might not even realize have been banned by Instagram. Now get this, for a period of time, I haven't even checked recently to see if my name for a period of time was getting people shadow banned on Instagram. And it is because, tons of people, this is like when my infomercials were on TV, right? So we're talking like back in the day with Instagram. And for some reason, some pornographic, I don't know what you would call it, like some pornographic content creator started using my hashtag. And so when you typed in Chalene Johnson, it was porn. And then for a while there, if you typed in Chalene Johnson, your post, your followers, et cetera, could see it, but like nobody new would see it and it wouldn't show up on the explore page. So the banned hashtags are always changing. Some of the more obvious ones are like nudity or adulting or booty or, some of them are kind of surprising. And I could give you a complete list here. Hashtags that are likely to get you shadow banned. They change all the time because it's automated, meaning when one of these scammers or bots or companies decides to take over a hashtag, it's caught by the very intricate systems at Instagram that looks for these things and they just shut it down. So it might only be banned for a couple of days. The reason why I tell you that is because it's one of the reasons why you might want to check, first of all, to see, okay, are people using this hashtag and is it getting traction today? So, for example, if you were to look up a certain hashtag, let's say I'm just picking a hypothetical one, you want to use the hashtag booty, right? And you look up booty, and the most recent post using booty was from 2016. Well, that's a hashtag you don't want to use. The good news is you really don't need to use hashtags today. So, when in doubt, leave them out. The algorithm is so good at picking up every single word that's said in your reels, every single word that's typed in your caption, every single word that shows up in the transcript of your video, plus all the text, like everything. It scans the photo, it scans everything. And all of that information is read by the Instagram algorithm. So you really don't need to use a hashtag. When in doubt, leave it out unless you're positive that hashtag has not been banned. The fourth activity that is likely to get you reduced reach, if not shadow banned, is using any type of explicit content or content that some people might report to be explicit. An example of this is I have a friend who is a bikini competitor, meaning they do fitness competitions. And when they're preparing for their competition, they started posting photos of like their posing, in their bikinis. And, there's this shot that bikini competitors do where they like flex their glutes and kind of stick out their butt. And they're usually wearing a thong. And her account, for some reason, quite a few of her followers reported it as inappropriate content. And she noticed for a short period of time when she was posting her content related to her fitness competition that her reach just went to like nothing. And so, as I'm going through her content, you're not going to receive a notification for this. So I certainly cannot verify this with 100% certainty, but it's very likely just based on the comments under some of her posts, like people saying like, just making kind of remarks like, is this necessary? And that kind of person, that person is like, is this necessary? That's the kind of person who probably also reported the content. So anything that you're posting that could be or might be construed by others to be inappropriate content, or even if it's just like a hater or someone who just doesn't like you, is in a bad mood because you're looking cute today, if enough people report you based on the size of your account, it is very likely that Instagram will they will limit your reach, because the last thing Instagram wants anyone to do is to get off their app, right? So they want to make sure that they're putting content in front of all of their viewers that their viewers want to see. And so they're not going to risk putting something in front of someone that is potentially offensive and might make them leave the app or log off, right? So another example that you might be unaware could limit your reach is using music, because most popular music has an E by it, which stands for explicit. And a lot of people have their account set to avoid any explicit content. Anyone under 18 might not be served any content that has music in it that might have explicit lyrics. And even though these lyrics are provided to us and the music is provided to us by the Instagram platform, it is important whenever possible to look for the particular song that you like and see if you can't find a clean version of it. It's difficult. Sometimes I'm just lazy and I'm like, I just like this song. And you know what? If it gets me less reach, that's okay. If someone doesn't like this because it's got, adult language in it, oh well. But if I were really worried, if I was really like, I've got to get if you are trying to get your account to reach more people, these are the little things that are, they're just little details that if you pay attention to them, you are going to get more reach. And if you're not careful, you can make some of these mistakes by accident and end up shadow banned. The fifth thing that could get you shadow banned on Instagram is using any automation tool that is not approved by Instagram. Now, one that I love using, we love using as a company with Team Johnson, with InstaClubHub, Brock Johnson uses it. I mean, almost every friend I have in the industry uses ManyChat. And I will put a link to ManyChat below in our show notes. This is not sponsored by ManyChat, but ManyChat is a way, it is currently API approved, third party application approved by Instagram. They're partners with Instagram. So that means that I can say in my caption, comment the word fitness or comment the word walk, and I will send you my YouTube playlist to teach you everything you need to know about walking, right? And so when I do that, my engagement, like through the roof. And it's real engagement. It's from my real followers. What is automated is the response. So when that person comments a word under my post, I get a lot more comments, that's for sure. But I don't have to individually reply to each one of those comments, but each one of those people is automatically sent a direct message that I've composed, but I haven't sent. The sending of it is automated, and the sending of it goes to their direct message, and it often includes an external link. Now, at the moment, and for many years, at least the last, I would say, gosh, don't quote me, but at least the last 4 years we've been using ManyChat, never had any problems, never. Until this year, there was one time, there's like about a week period that it didn't happen to me, but I heard from other creators who were like, I just got a notification from Instagram that I was engaging in spam related activities. And what all of those people had in common is they were all using ManyChat. Now, we reached out to ManyChat, spoke directly with the CEO, and at that time, Instagram was going through that process manually, they said. People who were using the ManyChat, their accounts were temporarily not suspended, but they were limited from engaging, commenting, liking on anyone's and responding to anyone's posts. And it was quickly resolved. And when I say quickly, I mean within a matter of days. I personally have never had any problems, and I use ManyChat all the time. But there's lots of other third-party applications, automation tools that people will tell you it's Instagram approved, but y'all, like, do your research because we know because we hear from our students. We have thousands and tens of thousands of students. So we hear regularly, they'll say, what about this one? I was told that this was, Instagram approved. The API was approved by Instagram. I looked at all the verifications online. You have to talk to other people who are using it. That's why it's so important to be a member of a community like InstaClubHub, where we're going to do that research for you. And I can tell you with complete authority at this time, ManyChat is one of those third-party tools that makes a huge difference. I can't even tell you how much it has grown our email list and my engagement, all of our engagements across all of our accounts, and it's saved us so much time and money. And this is not an ad for ManyChat. I'm just saying that's one that is approved and it works. But these things can change all the time. So that's why it's really important to stay up to date. It's really important that you make sure that you're subscribed to Build Your Tribe because we are going to keep you updated on this stuff. Please let me know if you think you have been shadow banned and if you've got some idea of why it might have happened. You can drop that comment below. Listen, it's my goal to be brief, to be bright, to make it fun, and then be done. We're done.